What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another live cast right here on the ADOM Facebook page. We say it all the time. Super appreciative for all of you that take a little time out of your day to learn more about some of these great companies as we focus on another featured company. And very excited and honored today to have Charles Brown, who is from Abella AR. How you doing, Charles?
Good, John. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, and we're going to get into some really exciting things. It's interesting. Charles and I were just going over what 2020 has been like for Abella, and I think you're going to find it very interesting. Not only the content that he's going to share, the work that they're doing with dental practices when it comes to a lot of the financing and things like that, but the fact that yes, even in a pandemic, they're out there helping companies, which is super exciting. So, Charles, before we get into kind of a host of questions that I have to really highlight what you guys do, would love to have you share just a little bit about your experience for everybody out there that's watching.
I'm Chief Operating Officer of Abella. Been in dentistry, virtually just about my whole career. Coming up a little over 10 years now, so that's been very awesome. Had the pleasure of working with close to 5,000 dental offices across the U.S. over the last 10 years, and working very intimately with, mostly, the business team, the office managers, financial coordinators, treatment coordinators, front desk, et cetera, with both of our brands here at Abella. So anyway, I'm very glad to be here on this call today with you, and just kind of share a little about our software and what it can do for everybody.
Awesome. So like it always is, everybody, any questions that you have for Charles, go ahead and put those in the comments thread, and we'll be sure to get to them towards the end of our conversation. All right, so let's hop right in. What is Abella?
So Abella is a patient account receivable software, and I think that's to be very specific, because the problem that we identified several years ago was, a lot of practices are very heavy PPO. Matter of fact, when you look at the dental market in itself, over half of how people are paying for dentistry is through dental insurance, right? Well, so a lot of dental offices across the country are very heavy PPO. They're very reliant on or dependent on insurance for their patients, and just helping the patients get the treatment that they want and need. But a lot of times it doesn't pay exactly what the practice estimates it's going to pay, and typically that could be several. We all know that insurance could take several days, weeks, even months before a claim has been closed out completely and been paid, and then you technically have a patient who has a balance, but services have already been rendered and they're out the door. And traditionally there hasn't been, over the last, if you think about when the last time any dental practice or even DSO, we run into a lot of DSOs that we work with, that it's the same thing. It's like, when was the last time you looked at that or upgraded that patient billing process? Here we are in 2020 when they say the average person checks their phone 96 times a day, right? But traditional methods of sending paper statements, making phone calls, are relatively ineffective. It can be kind of expensive and easily ignored, and it kind of puts a bad taste in someone's mouth when they're getting, a phone call from someone in the practice. And no one in the practice really wants to have to make those calls. So we looked at being able to solve that problem with Abella by creating a process that would be integrated with their dental software, and go in and look for the people who don't owe them money, who don't have open claims, and they can essentially go through that list and see those folks and batch them out, or even set it to be automated, where as soon as a claim gets closed and there's a remaining patient portion, Abella would begin sending electronic invoicing or bills via text message and email, and trying to make it as frictionless as possible to allow the consumer to just go online, see what they owe the practice, why they owe it, and just very easily choose to pay in full or opt into some sort of short-term payment plan.
Yeah, I love that. So let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned a couple, but some of the main advantages with Abella versus some of the traditional models and the way that, practices either were doing things, or like what you just mentioned, in many cases, they still are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of practices too. I mean, they're good at what they do. It's not like they're bad at what they do, but it's a way of making things more efficient for them. The business team, the office managers, the folks working on the billing team that are responsible for making these phone calls and sending paper statements to patients on patient AR. A lot of times it just gets away from it. So, well, I try to do it once or twice a month, or which honestly isn't frequent enough, right? But they've got a million other things that they're doing. They're wearing a lot of different hats. They got a lot of people coming to them for insurance verification and things like that throughout the day as they're presenting treatment to new patients. And so Abella is going to make them. It's not going to replace anybody, but it's going to make them much more efficient at what they're doing in terms of mailing paper statements, making phone calls, again, it's inefficient. I would say probably when we did our market research, the average, person within the practice was spending 1 to 2 full days a week, on patient balances and whatnot. And again, most people don't want to get, if I'm working during the day. So when you're trying
Right.
to call me, I'm not going to answer the phone. People don't listen to even voicemails for the most part anymore either. And, something in the mail is just too easy just to kind of throw away. And so we've even interviewed a lot of the consumers over the years since we launched Abella and asked them, hey, what was your experience, especially after someone would pay? And, every patient was just kind of saying the same thing. Well, I thought I knew something. I owed something. I think that I might have got a statement or, a phone call from them or, something. But this just made it easy for me just to be able to go online and just pay it without having to talk to anybody or interact with anyone kind of in private or even set up a payment plan. So, again, making them more efficient and helping them collect more money faster from people. So that way the AR doesn't get, dragged out there. I know a lot of practices that when they first come on board and implement Abella, there's this big backlog of AR that, Abella kind of helps them clean up. And, we've seen a lot of practices that they'll end up collecting, 30 to 50% of everything that was way over 90 days past due that, they said, hey, we pretty much gave up on these people. And they'll even tell us, hey, I know this person in particular, or these folks, like I called them 20 times. I sent them, 30 statements and, they get one Abella message or, invoicing and they just go online and pay it off, or they call us and end up paying it over the phone.
Yeah. So I know a lot of times, Charles, people ask, I'm sure you guys get this question all the time. I'm going to implement a new software program. And it's always the integration question, right? Like, what does it integrate with some of the practice management software, packages and things like that. So could you touch on how Abella integrates with those other ones?
Yeah, so we've spent a lot. We've heavily invested in our integrations with the dental practice and the management of the data flow between both systems. So right now it integrates with the vast majority, all the major dental softwares that anyone really would be familiar with. We've very rarely will we run into someone that they're using a software that maybe we haven't heard of before, or don't have an integration with. So I'd say on the surface, we've got about 95% coverage. So again, if you're using one of the major dental softwares, we all know who they are. I'm not going to say any names, but we're integrated with those, and that's a read and write back situation too. Not just we pull the data and make it visually easy for the team to manage their patient AR out of Abella, but we also do a daily reconciliation where we're ensuring consistencies between the balances and the contact information between Abella and the dental software on a daily basis. And we're also posting payments back. So any payments as they're collected through Abella, they also get posted back to the dental software, allocated to the correct providers. And again, just incorporating it right into the practice's workflow to make it, extremely easy for them to see, here's the people that owe me the money, and I push them through to Abella, or I can even set it to be automated as soon as claims close, or there's no active payment plans, or whatever the kind of the specific criteria they want to set, they can set it. And then Abella just really, takes the rest of it from there. And, it'll even just automate the invoicing. So let's say they don't respond to the initial, text and email with their invoice to pay. It's going to hit them again, every so many days for up to 90 days until they opt in to pay their balance.
Got it. All right. So you and I were also talking before we came on here live. I've known you for a long time, and I know this has been a passion of yours, working, in this part of the practice on the financing side. You know it very well, and I think as technology has advanced, and you're now a part of this, with Abella, and really have your hands on this. Can you share for all the dental managers that are out there? Really how this, boosts a lot of the efficiencies when it comes to AR. And I mean, as you know, Charles, we're talking about this, and I'm sure people out there watching, like, they know it intuitively. They know that, what could I do to make things easy? What could I do to make, to speed up cash flow with the patients and manage that AR? I mean, we know it's always on the mind of some of the office managers out there, but we'd love to have you share your experience of how these technologies really boost that part of the practice.
Yeah, I mean, the productivity goes through. You're able to spend so much more time on things that are maybe even just as meaningful or even more meaningful in the practice. We talked about the market research that we did to really validate, is this a viable solution? Because there's no competition for Abella really out there, but it is a lot more complicated than what we would have ever anticipated. That's for sure. But when we look at the increase in productivity, most office managers that were surveyed, it was, the vast majority of the people surveyed were office managers. Again, they said they spent anywhere from a minimum of, 8 hours a month to 8 hours a week, just managing the patient AR, not even including what it's taken them to manage their insurance AR. Now, after you implement Abella and you kind of flush out your backlog of AR using Abella, and now it just becomes part of your, invoicing process, right? Where now as soon as patients owe you money, boom, they get hit with this for Abella, or you can push it through. Now you're spending, 30 minutes a month or an hour a month total, just using Abella and really managing Abella, because you go from having to, figure out who you got to send statements out to, figure out who you need to make phone calls to, who have you not made phone calls to recently or send statements to recently. We found that it made it very, it's very challenging for the office manager or the billing team to be able to determine and manage, who do I need to send statements to this time? Who do I make phone calls to? It's just not very well organized within their system. So you go from spending all those hours to now, even completely automating it, to maybe spending an hour a month just managing Abella and not so much the process and having to take the action.
Yeah. So you guys see this on a daily basis with all of the clients and customers that you serve. What are you guys seeing in regards to what's the most convenient way that patients like to settle their AR? Certainly, there's a lot of newer technologies now, but you guys get to see this with all the people that you work with. So I'm just curious what you've learned in regards to what is the most convenient way that patients like to pay.
Just right from their mobile device, and I think there's a misconception sometimes too. They say, well, we got older patients, or, something like that's like, hey, a lot of times the older generation is the ones sitting around on their phone all day long, right? So, but we see it's what people want. It's the conveniency of it. It's a lot of people, no one wants to talk about money. They're embarrassed. That's why a lot of times people make up an excuse and leave the practice. I ain't going to think about it, and they never come back again, right? It's because they don't have to talk about the money or the financial aspect. And, we see countless number of consumers that will go online to Abella and pay at midnight, weekends, holidays, times when the practices aren't even open,
Right.
So you're getting paid, you're leaving now your essential practice open to be paid at any time by a consumer, 24/7, 365. So we can tell that it's definitely the way that, this electronic method is definitely what consumers want. And there's, dental practices are getting, even the medical practice that we're working with as well, they're getting a lot more use out of Abella than just as a patient AR invoicing software. We've seen a lot of our customers that started using it for all their ortho just payment plans, and just automating the billing side of that, and doing it at point since especially during the lockdown of the COVID crisis, essentially, during April, May, June, and we were collecting a ton of money for practices, even when no one was even in their office, where they had furloughed a lot of their employees. But it's just, again, the conveniency aspect of it and being able to set up a payment plan. It's what people want. They want to be able to just go online and see what they owe, why they owe it, and be able to pay. And again, to point of sale payments, being able to just go online at the point of sale and push out, they get a text and an email, and they can just very easily see what they could be sitting right there in the chair or out in the parking lot and pay. So we're seeing a lot of practices also get a lot more, I guess, mileage out of Abella than really what it's positioned to be, or for what they're really paying for.
All right. So anytime we come on here, we talk about technology, right? There's always that piece of this conversation where office managers may feel like, is technology replacing me, right? And I mean, and before I even get to this with you, I mean, I will say, and I'm sure you know this, Charles, working with many, many dental practices over the years, that for as long as there are people in a dental practice, meaning a team that needs to be managed and systems that need to be managed, I mean, you and I both know how extremely valuable the office manager is, and especially our ADOM audience. I mean, you're talking about it, as you know, or you may learn the more that you work with so many of the ADOM office managers. I mean, you're talking about individuals that seriously take, their position very serious when it comes to managing that practice. And so it feels like so many of them know and understand that technology really kind of helps them do their job even better, and they leverage that. But I'm curious, from your perspective, because I'm sure you guys get a lot of questions, anytime you're implementing newer technology into the practice, what does that mean, or what things do you hear from an office manager perspective?
A lot of times we hear, especially the ones though that are doing, $1 million, $1.5 million or more in, revenue. So the high volume offices, which, a lot of the office managers that are part of this group are, part of those high volume practices, the high volume PPO offices. I mean, we hear those office managers saying, I'd pay money out of my own pocket, to implement Abella because they wear so many hats though
Yeah.
in the business. And so this is one of those things where they know it's what the patients want intuitively. We're all consumers, office managers, you, me, we're all at the end of the day consumers. And we go through the process of Abella and what it does, they visually say, yeah, this is what I would want. This is a no brainer. So that's pretty commonly the feedback is just, it's what people want. This is the future. We need to implement this. And again, the high volume ones say, hey, I'd pay money out of pocket to have this because they know. And we hear a lot of times too that, hey, I haven't sent, statements or even made phone calls in months because I got so many other things going on. And my current software makes it so challenging for me to really work that AR in traditional methods, sending the statements and, making the phone calls. And we know that the office managers are very sensitive to, who's going to be invoiced or, send a bill essentially for a portion. They want to make darn sure that claim has been paid, that balance is specifically accurate to what they really do. Oh, it's because they don't, dentistry out of all the healthcare verticals, dentistry has the best relationship with their patients. It's typically, you're coming in for routine cleanings and things of that nature. So they're very sensitive to, tarnishing that relationship. And so I think in Abella, we've also heard a lot of feedback how Abella makes that so much easier for them, essentially a breeze, to be able to have confidence that these are the people that truly owe me money that I'm seeing in here that Abella is showing me that don't have any other, things pending, right? Like claims or payment plans or anything like that. And the other one we see, which is why I think we've been told that they're getting other use cases out of it, because they'll quickly say, oh, well, I can use this for just recurring payment plans at the point of sale, like for ortho or, distance pay, so to speak, these days, because, the merchant fee is very extremely low. And Abella also does what we call, decline card management. So in the event that a card, automatically will just bill the card on the same day every month, once the consumer chooses their day and what date they want the payment to come out. But also if the card ever gets declined for whatever, or based on various scenarios or reasons, Abella is going to be sending out notifications again to them and makes it just as easy as it was for them to opt into a payment plan or pay, makes it just as easy for them to go online and update their card that's on file, where, a lot of practices to these days are still, manually going in and running cards every month in those scenarios, which isn't even necessarily, not really PCI compliant either from a security standpoint.
Yeah, and I think as we close out here, there's a lot of practices that are smaller practices, right? In some of the smaller communities across the country, maybe they have like a couple of operatories or what have you, and they have found that over the years, like maybe their desires, they don't want to expand or what have you, and they run a really really great practice. And sometimes they've built, like I guess what would be called some of these traditional systems, and they're fine with it. So incorporating technology into that is that. So or maybe they don't always see the benefit of it because of what they're used to. Can you talk a little bit about what is the best type of office, and how do even some of those smaller practices, how can this technology, help them as well?
Yeah, well, and we know that too. That's why I say our target, is really we know that the practices that are the high volume, heavy PPO offices love Abella. They're, to them, you have one conversation with them briefly, they love it, they get it, they quickly implement it, and they're off to the races from there. Now the smaller ones, so we really look for practices that, are sending 75, 100 statements or more per month on average, because at that volume, they need something to scale with their business, and I think a lot of dental practices haven't necessarily been looking at the scale aspect of, it's just like, how are we going to implement new technology to help us scale and get better at providing, a better patient outcome, so to speak, right? And generate more referrals and things of the nature. Now, don't get me wrong, we have plenty of customers though that, they come to us and they're only sending, like you said, the smaller offices, some of them even in rural areas where they love it, they want it, but hey, they only send 25, 50 statements a month, maybe,
Right.
and for those offices, sometimes they don't even use the integration. They'll just, use it just to be able to push through and use Abella for more recurring payment plans or submit those people through on their own kind of manually whenever they are more of a lower volume practice.
Yeah. All right. So I've been thinking about this whole time, and you may know this, you may not know this. Where did the name Abella come from?
It
I'm
was
curious.
actually a funny story though. When we had our marketing team kind of doing the research and things on it, there was a physician back late 1800s, early 1900s, something like that. She was credited for doing some sort of like technological breakthrough in healthcare even at that time. And her last name was Abella, so that's how we came up with the name Abella. And when the marketing team presented it, we liked it. We thought it's something for us too. It was about Abella being friendly. I think a lot of times when customers, not a lot of times, but fair enough share of times, people are like, well, they're kind of sensitive to how this is being communicated to patients, right? And I think, Abella sounds friendly. It's nice. And that's the messaging from Abella too. It's that even though the patients owe the money and they're financially responsible individuals that are receiving the messages from Abella owe the money, it's, hey, John, you have a balance due with XYZ dental practice, right? And everything is branded from the practice. So the consumer they don't even know who Abella is. They just see this as coming from their dental practice. So I think the brand also fit just kind of the communication style that we want of, it's friendly, the messaging's frequent, it's consistent, but, again, it makes your patients feel good about, the way that they're being invoiced.
Perfect. All right. So we had a couple questions here. One of which by the way, I'll let everybody know a couple of the links. I know you're going to reference them, Charles, here just in a second, but the ADOM team has went in here and added this in here. Added some links where you can take advantage of some of this stuff. One of the questions was compatible with Open Dental.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, good. So that's exciting. And then, I know you had put together something in regards to a 30-day free trial and no setup fee. I know there's a link in there. So maybe you go ahead and share that for everybody.
Yeah, there's a link in there. We have a special offer. We don't really have to do a lot of special offers, but we figure, hey, with, the ADOM group, especially we feel like it's such an elite group of, office managers that are business savvy, which we love. Those are typically our easier customers. So, we are offering, everyone that comes from, essentially this call, a free 30-day no obligations trial, implement Abella integration, the full 9 yards. And again, no obligation to continue beyond the 30 days. But I guarantee you within the first, hour, you're going to be a big believer after implementing it.
Yeah, that's exciting. Anything else? And then where can they find out more about Abella and all of that?
Yeah, so you can either go to the link. I think that was maybe I've already shared with you, John. If it wasn't, we'll get that link that you can post. But otherwise, just go to AbellaAR.com. Go to the website, plug in your information, just reference the fact that this call, and the sales team will reach out to you pretty quickly, and we'll take good care of it. And typically, we will send sometimes, like even during the lockdown or the pandemic period, we onboarded over 700 new customers within that, like a 90-day period. So, if we don't get back to you within like the hour, which is usually our goal is to get to you within 5 minutes, no more than an hour, but we can't get to you right away. We typically are just sending you as quickly as we can, at least a demo of it. So that way you can kind of review and get a visual of how this is really going to work. And, again, if you want to get started, just email in and reference this call, and we'll make sure that you get set up with your 30-day free no obligations trial.
Excellent. And I know we've got a couple of questions in here, which I know either your team or we've got the ADOM team on there, can respond people directly in there. We've got some people got some questions about costs, and I know it's different for the different practices and things like that. So some good specific questions there. Charles, it's been a pleasure. Really appreciate it. Always exciting. So many of these newer technologies, all in an effort to be able to make things easier for the practice. So we really appreciate your time today, and best of luck.
Likewise, John. Good to see you as well.
Yeah, you too. Take care, man.
Take care, man. Have a good day.